Good stuff. Hello there, my name is Jay. I'm one of the expert TOEFL teachers here at E2 Language. In this live class, what we're going to do is this. We're going to do TOEFL speaking task number 2, which is the independent speaking where you have to give your opinion, okay? So what happens in this task? By the way, if you haven't seen task 1, do watch that. It will be up here in the YouTube somewhere, so find that one first. This is task 2, this happens next. What you need to do with this one is give your opinion. What that means is you need to choose a side, then you give your opinion, and you need to explain why, giving details and examples. In this one, you'll have 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to speak. Okay? I can tell you from experience from having done these English language tests, including the IELTS, that although it may seem simple, it is something that you need to practice. Even if you're a native speaker, you still need to practice doing this because it's not a normal, common thing to do to give your opinion for 45 seconds. So you do want to prepare for this one in your own time. So let's have a look. Here's the topic. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to read through this. Your time starts now. Okay, how did you go? So you've just got enough time there to really just get the idea about shorter work weeks. What do you think and why? Give examples and details. Let's have a closer look at this question and break it down. And I'll give you some tips about how to structure your speaking on test day so that when the examiner's listening to it, he or she knows that you have really spoken on topic, which is quite critical here. So, okay, let's read this carefully. Some people think that we should have shorter work weeks and longer hours. For example, 4 days at 10 hours each day. What do you think and why? Give examples and details in your response. Just have a think about this for a second. I'm going to give you another 30 seconds just to think through this issue. Just for my interest, and put into the chat below, what's your overall opinion here? Do you think it's a good idea to have shorter work weeks with longer hours? Just type in yes or no into the chat. What's your opinion? Just type in, or you can type in good idea or bad idea. Because what you'll need to do in those 15 seconds is make a decision about which side you're going to choose. And don't think too much about it. Don't debate in your mind. Just choose a side and then stick with that side when you're explaining. Fine, so Carmen says yes, Rekha says yes, and Mustafa says no. That's fine, so that's your overall opinion. Now what you'll have to do in this 45 seconds is explain why. So let's have a think about this. Okay, so my opinion is that yes, it's a good idea. Do I actually think that? Well, I don't have enough time to pick another side. I'm just going to say yes. Great idea. The main reason being that you will get a longer weekend. So instead of having a 2-day weekend, you'll have a 3-day weekend, which is fabulous. Of course, the downside will be that working 10 hours each day will be more difficult than working 8 hours each day. So that's what you'll do now in your presentation. So let's just practice this. I'm going to give you 45 seconds to now give your response, and then I'll show you mine and we'll discuss mine. Your 45 seconds to talk about a shorter work week with longer day hours starts now. and stop. That's 45 seconds. That's all the time you have. Let me do one and I'll show you how I would structure it, okay? And what I would do. So here we go. I'm just going to reset my timer and we'll start now. Some people believe that we should be working longer hours in the day in order to have a longer weekend. For example, you could work 4 days of 10 hours instead of 5 days at 8 hours. I think this is a terrific idea because you would get a longer weekend in which you could possibly go traveling or do something much more meaningful. Because today, with a 2-day weekend, usually you only have enough time to clean your house and do your chores, and then possibly 1 day to relax. Although working 10 hours would not be an ideal situation, it would certainly be better so that you could free up that extra day to do something. And that was 45 seconds. My final word there wasn't great. What did I do there? Okay. The first thing I did was I paraphrased the question. So I said, some people believe that working longer days and having 3 days off would be a positive thing. So I talked about the question in my introduction. Then I moved to my opinion and I said, I think that would be a terrific idea. Okay, so I gave my opinion very clearly. The third thing I did then was I then gave reasons and examples. And I said, working a longer days would then free up an extra day on the weekend so you could go traveling or do something more meaningful. The fourth thing I did was then I talked about a problem with it. I then said, although working 10 hours a day could be problematic, so I mentioned the issue with it, but it would be worthwhile because you free up the extra day. So 4 things. I want you to do this again. I want you to paraphrase the question when you start. In your introduction, talk about the question. Some people believe blah, blah, blah. Then I want you to give your opinion. As far as I am concerned, or in my opinion, I believe yes or no. After you've given your opinion, then you move on to reasons and examples. I think this is a good idea because blah, blah, blah. The fourth thing you can do if you still have time is you can mention a problem with it, but then come back to your overall opinion at the end. So let's do that again. We'll look at the question prompt again for 15 seconds. Then I'm going to give you another 45 seconds and I want you to create a beautifully structured speech, okay? Here we go. 15 seconds preparation starts now. Three, 2, 1. Three, 2, 1, and stop. So make sure you stop before that 45 seconds. I was just thinking to myself while doing this, on test day, your mind works very differently because of stress and anxiety, and it's very difficult to think clearly. I've done these tests and I can tell you from experience that is what happens. So I was just thinking then about the optimal way to prepare for this. I think this is what you should do in your preparation time. Really what you want to do in this preparation time is really just one thing. And that's just to really understand this question, what it's asking. Because this is quite confusing. So you do need to read this carefully. And all you really need to do in that 15 seconds is understand this and perhaps come up with your overall opinion. Because what you do here is you understand this, then when the preparation starts, you rephrase it into your own words and you say, some people believe that we should work longer hours in the day in order to have an extra day for the weekend. Okay, there you've just paraphrased it. Then you move on to your opinion and you again choose a side. I believe that this is a great idea because weekends are too short, blah, blah, blah. So what's critical there is reading that question prompt, understanding it. Then when the speaking starts, you just rephrase it, which gives you time to then think of your opinion. So that's just something to keep in mind. I just want to talk to you quickly about how you're scored for this particular task. So let's have a think about how to maximize your score, because you're scored out of 4. 4 is a top score. And you're scored on 3 things. You're scored on delivery, language use, and topic development. So I'm just going to read you the top scores here. So delivery means that you have a well-paced and fluid speech, accurate pronunciation or intonation. Okay, let's just think about each of these. Well-paced and fluid, accurate pronunciation and intonation. So what you don't want to do is hesitate. You want to make sure that you keep speaking and the words appear and you just say what you're saying. Don't stop and go, some people, just speak, okay? Just speak. In terms of intonation, that's your ability to put emphasis into your sentences, for them to go up and down and have meaning. And pronunciation is your ability to be easily understood, to speak clearly, to make sure that those sounds are said clearly. By the way, if you want to do a tutorial, a one-on-one tutorial on any of the TOEFL speaking, you can sign up for a package at e2language.com. You can meet one-on-one with the teacher for a tutorial. We also have lots and lots of practice exercises if you need help. Okay, language use. That's your ability to use vocabulary and grammar, okay? And you're allowed to make minor errors because even native speakers make minor errors. The third thing that you're scored on is topic development. And this is why it's so important to understand that question prompt, because you need to sufficiently address the prompt. You need to speak about that topic. And your response needs to be well developed, logical progression, and connection between ideas. So that's why you do the paraphrase the question, give your opinion, give examples, and if you have time, you can talk about the other side of the argument, but always come back to your overall opinion. Cool. That is it. I'll stick around for a few minutes if you have any questions, but other than that, thanks very much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, do click like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. All right. Right, so Ricardo, I think it's a good idea. Here in Mexico, the hours of the work is around 12 hours per day. Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. Same with me. I run this business, so yes. Cool. Do you guys have any questions? Carmen, please put your questions into the chat if you have some questions. Ricardo asks, how do we get more fluid speech? I think one of the best ways to improve the fluidity of your speech, of course you need vocabulary and grammar. A really good practice exercise is to do this. Is to get some, just read off the internet or a magazine or a newspaper, to read aloud, okay? I think this is a fabulous exercise to start to get the intonation and the flow and the fluidity, and it's actually quite fun. So you'll just, even if you don't understand all of the vocabulary or the grammar, that's fine, but you just practice reading. Indigenous wildlife officials in Australia have found new evidence of one of the country, blah, 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 blah. What you'll find with native English speakers and how fluent they are is that they don't speak word for word. What they do is they group words together into chunks, and that's what makes you sound like a native speaker. So what you'll find is combinations of like adjectives and nouns, or articles, adjectives and nouns, for example, or verb preposition that come together to form a almost one piece. You're not saying them word for word. You've got little chunks or groups of words together. So just listen to the way native speakers do that and try to do that yourself while you're reading aloud. Carmen says, if we only have 45 seconds to talk, wouldn't it be a waste of time to paraphrase the question? No, as an introduction, it's only about 5 seconds. Some people believe that we should be working shorter hours and having a longer weekend. And you're saying that in your own words. You're not copying the question prompt. You're actually saying that in your own words. This helps for that criterion called, what was it called? Topic development. Because what you're doing by paraphrasing is you're telling the examiner that you understood the question. You paraphrase for 5 seconds, then you move on to your examples and reasons why. If you just start to talk about examples and reasons why, you've missed, it won't be as clear. So I think paraphrasing is important. What happens if the words just stop? If you get stuck? That can happen. That can happen. What should you do? Okay, if you get stuck, you need to buy yourself some time. What you can do is use little fillers like, it's hard. If you get stuck, you should probably just start a new thought, start a new sentence completely, because maybe you're stuck trying to find a word. If you get stuck for too long, just stop it, start a new sentence. Okay? It's a hard thing to do. Nilo, can we use contractions in this type of question? Yes. So for example, instead of will not, you can say won't, or must not, mustn't, for example. That's fine. Contractions are fine in spoken English and fine in this part of the test. Cool. Guys, if you need some practice, go onto the website. There's heaps of practice material there. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for coming. Check out the YouTube channel. Check out the website. Heaps of practice material. I'll see you soon. Thanks very much.